you, ladies and gentlemen. Almost 9, I think people get thirsty. I think, it's very spiritual to be thirsty. We'll wait for that anyway. Thank you, thanks for the good videos. It reminds me of my good old days. अभी थोड़ा बहुत भेट आ गया, थोड़ा I was trying to cover it up with my blazer. Yeah, it was good days. Today's theme is all about transforming. If I go back to my career and then see some of transforming moments of my career, those 13 to 14 years of my international cricket and beyond, when I took over as match referee, what I feel has transformed the game. Gentlemen, if you have any questions, I think I'll take a few questions by the end of it, and I want you to be asking few questions. My first transforming moment in my life, I'm not talking about those small personal transforming moments, but I'm talking about collective transforming moment for the Indian cricket team, was when the match fixing happened in 1999. I'm sure you all know about the match fixing thing that went in 1999. It was a shameful act. It was a disgrace. There was a doubt in the air. We could not really walk with our head held high anywhere. We struggled, honestly. There was a doubt. I mean, you start doubting your own abilities in many ways. You doubt some of the good wins that you have had, and we doubted many things around us. It came like a shock for us. It came like a bolt from the blue for many of us in the team. That's the time when few of us in the team started to think alike. When you're pushed to the wall, when you're in shame, you really want to build that reputation once again. And that was one moment when 5 or 6 of the seniors got together. They were not pushed into it. It happened. They came together. They started talking only the good things about it. They started talking the brutal facts, which we never discussed. They started talking about how do we breed youngsters, which never happened in the last 10 years of my career. I'm talking about 99. It started looking like the Yuvraj and Harbhajan Singhs, Zahir Khans, and we wanted them in the side. We wanted them to look to the brighter side of cricket. So there were a lot of things at stake. And all these things happened without our own knowledge. I think the more meetings that happened amongst the few seniors, 5 to 6 of them, that formed a proper core, a good core for the team to go forward. And we had a wonderful coach in John Wright, who gave the right directions as well. Somebody who would always work at the backdrop, who was never on the face of the people or in the face of the players. And that moment, when we were really down, that's the time when things started to happen, few good things. So sometimes I ask questions to myself that, do we need to have such scams for people to really change? Do we need to really wait for such things to happen to really change? And we can probably answer that a little later. Now that was one good thing that happened in one way. If I really see the best side of it, is that everybody became conscious. They wanted to take this forward. They wanted to take the team. They want to win. A lot of good things happened. We started winning abroad. Ganguly became captain and we started winning abroad. The youngsters probably, I have never seen youngsters being encouraged to that extent, and that became a precedence for the future. I think good foundations was laid. These were the good things that happened. And for all of it, we had to go through this, indignation for at least a year or so. People who were involved paid a price for it. You don't have to put anybody behind bars. Cricketers sometimes, I think it's the virtue of being recognized on television, it's the virtue of the game itself. When that following falls for a cricketer, that punishment itself is good enough. You don't have to really do anything more than that. If people ignore you at the airports, if people don't want to see your face at the airport, that itself is probably the biggest punishment that anybody could go through. I think they suffered that indignation I think they will suffer for the rest of their lives for the mistake what they did. But I think a few good things happened as well. So that was one transformation which happened. Now, if you ask me to name what happened, I think the thinking itself changed. I think people who are thinking about themselves, it was all about the team from then on. How do I help Harbhajan Singh? I think Anil tutored him like anything. And that was the time I realized that unless I have Ashish or Zahir in the side, somebody who can form a team in the group, my energy was completely consumed. 8 over spell, 9 over spell, that was not helping. So we need 3 good fast bowlers to win matches. So we started thinking beyond the boxes. We're out of the box. We're thinking beyond the boundaries. That really helped us. That was one transforming moment, I would say, that happened. And every meeting when we sat, we said, look, we need to bring that glory back into this side. We owe to the people of India. They love us. We need to win for them. That was probably the theme. That was mostly the theme in all the meetings. I think it was very clear in every one of us. That was one moment. Now, followed by the second one was the invention of technology into sports. We were struggling. Our team meetings were terrible, honestly. We picked the weakest ones, lambasted him. I'm sure that happens in corporate too. And then without any feedback, without any proper rationale or logic, we just played the games. I wish I could see myself on television, but we had VCRs. Those days we used to get those VCRs. So one of the manager coaches then came to me and said, look, I can get you a tape if you want to see. But how much can you see? Fast forward, rewind, fast forward. You're waiting for your bowling to come. Every 6 balls you got to change. You don't know when you bowl the third spell. It was a struggle. And then, we came up with a technology. That was brilliant. You see now that every team has 2 laptops running when the game is going on, where every ball is stored in a database and then it is recalled from a query screen. That changed cricket. That changed the way people started thinking. Even Sachin, who was so reluctant to accept technology, slowly came to terms with that. Most of the team members, I was an engineer and I was getting old and I wanted something to really see, where the team was going right, where we were going wrong. Bob Bulmer was the first one to really start, the guy who passed away, the Pakistan coach during 2007 World Cup. Now he was the one who started on an Excel sheet. And slowly I think technology evolved and we were able to do it with the videos itself. So we came with this wonderful technology, a beautiful tool, and that gave us some kind of an eye-opener. Every team meeting was with this technology. It was so concrete. Now, we were looking at where did I go wrong in the third spell? Why did I bowl down the leg side? Call those pictures. So we used to get those pictures quickly. It was so well archived. Every ball was stored and we used to recall. Now get the best pictures of the past and compare those pictures together. And when we were able to, during lunch, during tea break, we used to come, look into those pictures, see the differences, and we were able to correct ourselves on the field. In fact, that was the only time, or probably we were the first one to really have this tool. None of the teams in the world had a tool like that. It was, produced from a company called Global Phoenix Solutions, which used to do back-end work for some insurance company in Bangalore. So they were the one who produced it. What a wonderful tool. And then slowly, there was a lot of reluctance in accepting the tool itself. Now that's a slow transformation. Now people who scored runs, or guys who got wickets, they always thought, I don't need to learn anything from the computer. I used to go to them and sit next to them and say, look, I think this is what you need to see. When you're doing well, you need to watch yourself more so that you don't lose your rhythm. But that was not really going into their heads. When they failed once, they didn't even come. When they failed for the second time, they were little open to it. When they failed for the third time, they started looking into themselves about what happened and where they went wrong and how could they correct themselves. And then every match after the game, the players used to go ask the data analyst, give me this picture, give me that picture. I want, the 27th over. I want the entire spell. And we started watching the batsmen, the opponents. We started watching the opponent bowlers, where they bowl, how they go about doing things. Now that technology, whether you call it evolution, whether you call it transformation, I think that really, brought the focus back onto the Indian cricket. I mean, that really helped us to understand, what the strengths of the opponents and where did we go wrong and what went right for us. No matter what, we used to watch lots of videos, but in the end, your body has to go and do its best at the center. But with this proof of technology, we were able to do better. Now, without technology, there is no team meetings. Everybody, whether he scores 100, he wants to see. Whether he gets out early, he wants to see his old pitches and see his footwork. Every ball can be compared, but it's really gone deep now. So this was the second, I would say, the transformation which I saw in my career. Third transformation, I would say, is the invention of IPL. If India, of course, in 1983, India won the World Cup, and that's probably the biggest transformation India has ever seen for the nation itself. But I think if you ask me why we won the 2011 World Cup, it's because of the invention of T20 in 2007. That's the power of IPL. People, we can probably pick the wrong side of IPL by saying that, look, it has taken away the sting from the test matches. Kids are getting more money. Cricket is now, it's all about tamasha. That's one side of it. That's a cynical view towards the game. But if you really see, the guys play under pressure for those 2 months almost every night. That brings the best out of you. That has really transformed the way the game is played. I think, that took 2 to 3 years. I mean, the best of best players throughout the world come, mingle, get together. And that's really, I think, made a huge difference to the Indian team, I think. And then 2011 was probably the culmination of what the IPL has done to us. Even today, if you see the consistency of the Indian cricket team, it's all because of the IPL and the continuous cricket what they play. We might complain at one end that we play too much cricket and people are getting injured, but at the same time, I think for you to be consistent and for you to really do it, I think just like you people, you got to do it every day and every night. I mean, you got to be at it all the time. So I think that has really helped the Indian cricket. That's a huge transformation I see, even in terms of retail participation in the sport. And I think kids at the age of 17 being paid millions of dollars. Now, how do they handle it? I'm sure some of them struggle. Money is different at various ages. If somebody is paid $1 million at the age of 19, 20, I mean, he will go mad. When I still, can give an example of Parthiv Patel when he walked into international cricket. I think he comes from a typical middle-class family, and all of a sudden he was signed with almost a 60 lakh contract with one of the agents. Now, when I went to his house, I mean, it was like the whole house, he's the boss actually at the house. Everybody is standing and watching him. His own parents are looking at him like a superstar. So, money has transformed the game for good. Now, there will be few things that will not be so good, but that's the way it is. People will learn. A lot of people have lost their way because of this money that has come into from the money that has come from T20. Even that has happened during our playing days too. I think education probably plays a huge role in having a stable career. That's why I always propagate that you've got to be educated. to be a good cricketer or good any sport. For a good sportsman, I think education is crucial. You know, in India, we cannot take sport as a profession even now. I will not allow my son to take sport as a profession. I'm sure you kids will be playing cricket, but it's risky. It's quite risky. So my logic is that if you're a good student, you'll be able to manage the sports also nicely. It gives you that analytical strength to manage sport and the studies together. So if you're a good student, only you can probably have a good career. That's for sure. I have seen many cricketers, Vinod Kamble, it could be many, who struggle. They could not understand what money was at a young age. I think for you to understand money, I think education has to be there. I believe education is very crucial at every walk of life, and I think especially for sportsmen, it becomes quintessential. It has to be there for any sportsman. So IPL, the money, and all of it, I think that has, the world looks up to IPL. When I go as a match referee to many countries like England, or they give me subtle hints that the best of best player of England will come to me and say, how is IPL going? What's happening now? Who wants what? Do they want a batsman? I'm ready. By the end of it, they said themselves. That's nice to see. I mean, India is now the leaders in this sport. And I think this is one wonderful tournament which we have created, and we need to sustain that for sure. And I think 10 years, and if you see the money what we have got now, I think that clearly shows that we are in the right direction. Yes, we do have some controversies with the board and all of it. Which institution doesn't go through turmoils when there is more money coming in? So that's again a transformation, what we are looking for. Okay. And gentlemen, the last one is about television. Television is the key for what the game is today. Right from a kid learning the sport. How did we all learn the sport in our younger days? We listened to commentaries. We heard the way the game was played, and then we had our own imagination building in our minds. As youngsters, India playing in West Indies or wherever, those commentators, Tony Coziers and Ishwaraya, the Indian commentator, all of them, when they built that imagination in our mind. Most of the 1983 World Cup, I heard the commentary because we didn't have television. Was just about coming in Mysore, where I studied. So, slowly television got better and better. If you see Sharjah, 1991, everything was from a distance. The cameras were not so powerful at all. Like before, one of the worst decisions that you could ever get, but nobody complained because nobody could see what happened at the center. We could see people batting, we could see people bowling, and all we wanted was India to beat Pakistan then. That's it, beyond nothing. So, television got better and better. And now, if you see the hot spots, the spin vision, the frames per second, you're looking at close to 1,000 frames per second, which used to be software-driven slow motion. Now it's a hardware slow motion, which means it is near real time for you guys. What you watch. Without slow motions, no television is fun. Imagine, take away the slow motion, even in your Gar Gar Ka Kahani, whatever it is, without slow motion, you can't even watch any sport or any serials for that matter. So evolution of television has been fantastic. Technology has put pressure on everybody. The way we play the game has altered because of television. Now today, with the Hawkeye, with the ball tracking, everything, now the batsmen are not very comfortable to pad any ball on the front foot because they might get leg before. But the game earlier was that you put the your left foot front, you're given not out because you're stretched. But now the ball tracking is put the batsman in trouble. And the ball, see, the human, as an umpire, the human capability fails beyond a point. Technology has gone so forward that, the slight deviation or from the touch of the bat onto the pads from 22 yards, you will not be able to see it. And only, that's the best cameras with high focal length can probably give you the pictures. So that put pressure on ICC. And, this game now, it has become high stake. I think few bad decisions can curtail my career. So the demand for good decision grew slowly. The voices were heard everywhere. So we changed, ICC changed umpires. They said, okay, no more neutral umpires because they are patriotic. So we'll change them. We'll bring the foreign umpires, neutral umpires. Even they started making mistakes because they were competing with technology. Therefore, it was imperative that we blend technology with the decision-making capacities of the umpire. So we had to bring it together. I think people wanted good decisions. People put pressure. People watching television, they said he's one of the worst umpires I could ever see. And of course, I mean, Gali also comes out easily. So that affected players and umpires too. So therefore, you had to bring in technology into sport, and that really opened the eyes of many, especially the way the game is played, the way the decision is made today, and the visibility got better and better. So retailers walked into the BCCI offices to bid more and more. I think that also raked in tremendous money into the system. And it's all because of television. So I would say, so if I go back to all the four transformation that I have spoken about, the first one was, it was out of shame, out of disgrace that transformation happened. We were really pushed to the wall. Now, what practices, if I look back today, what practices that we should have put in place so that that didn't happen? But now those practices are in place. We have anti-corruption. We have many, that's a deterrent. At the same time, I think the players are also being taught, told, educated. Even then, we are humans. And they make the mistakes. They have their towels on the front. That's solely because it's the way somebody is brought up. It is the value system what is practiced at home. It is the respect for the system, for your parents at home. I think largely I will attribute such value systems could be little fragile at home itself. I cannot squarely blame the parents, but I think largely it comes from there. So if you tighten those values everywhere, I'm sure such situation will never arrive. Now the people whom they approached showed their weaknesses. They were found in the wrong places at the wrong time. That's where they were approached. They didn't even approach many of us. I think that's what we need to look into this. So the transformation happened. So transformation, whether it's good or bad, whether it's a scam or not, I think transformation do happen. Some of the changes like television, like the technology when it came to the Indian cricket, we had to force it on people sometimes. We had to, people will not accept it. Even on Sachin, I used to go have discussions with him, tell him that you better see this. This is how it's going to change. And he was so reluctant to start with, but slowly. So at times for transformation, you've got to put force. I think changes sometimes don't happen in life, or probably we should not live it as a function of time. The change has to happen forcefully on ourselves. It has to be forced upon people, I suppose, and that's exactly what technology did on many. I think IPL is one thing. I would probably see it as, the economy of India pushed IPL, brought IPL into existence. I think there was a lot of money that was there to be spent for the television, for the products to be viewed. So they wanted something, and it became an evening program. Entertainment was blended with cricket, and therefore, IPL came into existence. So that brought more money, and that has changed the lives of cricketers. That has transformed the life of cricketers. As I said, television again, it forced everyone. You had no choice but to change. When we come into such situations where we have to give in, and technology is the truth. And then if somebody said, if technology, if science is God, then technology is adaptability, which was such a nice line. So I feel that transformation happens almost on daily basis. Transformation happens at the personal level almost on every day, but we call it as change. But when it collectively happens, I believe there is a huge transformation. This is exactly what I've thought about transformation, gentlemen, in a short span of time. I don't want to keep you thirsty, but if you have any questions, please come up with that. Go ahead.
Very good evening, sir. I'm from a Very good evening, sir. I am from a television media company and now a digital media company called ETV, Inadu Television. We at the senior positions often got stressed out by the expectations of the management. My question to you, sir, you being a legendary cricketer, how do you cope up to manage the over expectations of the people in India, people of the country called India? But how do you transform yourself rather to meet the over expectations of the people of the country called India?
I think people sitting here, you are not here as a stroke of luck. For me, sometimes I will get back to your question, but let me build a foundation for this. We believe that it's a stroke of luck that somebody becomes a cricketer. We believe that it's a stroke of luck that somebody becomes an engineer. But in my case, it could be true. But it could be true that, you say that he's lucky, so he made it big. But it is not the case. I don't believe in this luck factor. I believe that we have done our donkey's work, we have put in our miles at every stage, and therefore you're sitting here. It is not a stroke of luck at any point in time. You might undervalue your own efforts, but I think you have done the right things to be here. Similarly, any cricketer would have done the right things to be there. So if you want to mess it up there because of your, your lifestyle or your priorities, that's a different aspect. So this is what I want to say. Now, coming back to this question of, so everybody has put in their minds, they put in their hard work to be at this level. Take an example of Sachin's captaincy. Very authoritative. Very, very authoritative. When he came back, when he started, when he took over the captaincy at the age of 25 or 24, what he expected was that he could bowl an outswinger, he could bring the ball in, he could bat well. So his thoughts were that why can't you do it? When I can do it, why can't you do it? So standing at mid-off, he used to say, Shri, tu dal na bahar abhi. यार मेरे से नहीं होता यार, बाहर मेरा जो भी है अंदर ही आना यार, बाहर नहीं जाएगा बॉल. I told him, क्यों नहीं आएगा? करना bowling, मैं करूँगा, लाओ इधर बॉल, मैं देखो, I in the nets used to see everybody is different, and somebody has more talent, so as a captain, he had to see how do I blend all this talent to get a net effective performance from everyone. So discounting somebody's incapability is also the strength of the captain. If you don't factor that, then you're expecting a lot. I think the mistake what we as leaders do at times is that we don't factor the weakness of a player at all. We only see the strength and we exaggerate it. That's probably the mistake what we do. So in any given environment, we can stress somebody up completely with our expectations when we are blind-eyed to their weaknesses. So when we see the strength, we should also see what he cannot do. And for that, what kind of pressure that I am going through. When I am incapable at times, I put pressure on somebody too. So this is also true in many cases. I think, the best thing was when I went and spoke to Chandu Borde and I said, sir, I want Zahir Khan into the side because he was bowled very well in one of the games in Karnataka. I cannot go to this tournament. You are telling this? I said, yes sir, for my longevity there is a selfish intent too. For my longevity and also to bowl in pair, if he gets 2 wickets, it creates more opportunity for me to get the 3rd wicket. But if I want all the 5 wickets for me, which is not possible, so we need to bowl in tandem. So So, some kind of philosophy needs to enter the workspace. Sometimes of human touch, the social dimension about, I strongly believe when Sachin came for the second time, it was far better. That social behavior, like asking you, how is your family? Getting that little personal, that matters a lot in any workspace. I think what we do is we see that effective leadership is that I just make decision for everybody. It is good. In a complex situation, I think it creates confusion if you leave it to a democratic setup. You got to make that decision, but most of the times it should appear that it's a democratic setup. So if there is a social dimension attached, if there is little care and concern at the human level, I think that works beautifully. That works very well. And then, of course, nobody is permanent. Nobody can be there forever. But numbers matters by the end of it. So numbers matter. So that has to be there. If somebody is bad, there is a way to tell them that your performance is not up to the mark or whatever it is. But I think, our culture sometimes, we in England, when I played for county cricket, first couple of months, April, May, it was very cold. I played for Gloucestershire. It was very, very cold. And I struggled. So they came to me, they had a meeting, and I didn't even know that they had inspired me. They said, look, you are so good, you are this. They also lied to me that you look good. All those things, fine. But by the end of it, they put it across to me nicely by saying that, look, we are looking, we thought you would come and lead us. You are a professional, you got to deliver. I understand it is cold, but we want you to take wickets. It is in a nice manner. By the end of it, that's the best thing about England. They would have probably pierced a nice knife in your back. You wouldn't know it actually. You would walk across like you'd walk as if it was an award for you. That's the best thing about it. I learned a lot there actually. That professional ways. It is good. Of course, less people, so your bandwidth is also bigger. When there is more people, there are issues. I understand.
Adjustments, sir. Adjustments.
Yeah, hi sir, good evening.
Yeah.
I would like to ask, which was the most challenging time in your career and how did you pass it?
See, form and outer form keeps happening. I don't know who asked this question.
Yeah, this side. Last.
Okay. Form and outer form keeps happening. That's part of life. This probably I came to know a little later in my career. When you build a good bondage with your teammates. The first selection will happen with your teammates. Nobody can drop you from the team. If your peers believe that you're good enough, selectors cannot do anything for you. But the stressful time is when you start worrying about whether your career is finishing. What do you do from now on? That's one part of it. Of course, as I said, the match fixing thing was probably the worst scenario that we all went through. But when you go out of form and when you come back into form, what is out of form? Body keeps growing. From the age of 21 to 28, it is gaining strength. I think at the age of 28, you are the strongest. You feel really good. You feel that you can conquer the world. But after 28, your experience starts increasing. Your body starts slowly aging. Then you balance it out. When you start balancing this, your reflexes comes down. Then you bring your experience little higher. So when you manage this, your originality fades a bit, or your performance starts taking a beating. But if you are at it all the time, and if you have shown the right attitude to all your players, they will come for your rescue. They will stand next to you and they will say, look, this guy needs more time. I think he's a hard worker, he has done well for the team, let him be in the side. I don't know how it operates in the corporate, it should be the same. So, but if you are little one-man show pony, or if you are all yourself, everything is about yourself, I think it's a natural thing to say that let's try somebody else, give him a break for some time. So when we go through those highs and lows, I think my shoulder injury was another case of concern. I thought I almost gave up cricket. And that's the time I went and did my few subjects of engineering, which was still lying low. So that made 10 years of engineering. So my technology is very strong, ladies and gentlemen. So So, these are the times, and I felt that whenever I was little down, when you don't have a good performance or whatever, whenever you have not done the period of time, I mean, your peers are probably the best guys who can resonate the right signals. And number two is that, I used to have a couple of guys whom I used to go and speak to them, talk to them honestly. A senior guy, one Mr. Subramaniam back in Mysore, one of my seniors, I used to go talk to him. And I mean, we need to find such people. Somewhere, I'm sure we'll find it. Unless we feel the need, everything cannot be resolved by us. When you feel little down, I think we need to look up to such people to have a good conversation. Come back. I think what they do is basically they bring out some philosophies in life. I think that's the easiest solutions for many things. And I think answering your question, I think everybody has to go through it. Suffering is constant in any profession. The way you come out of it is whether you rub the wrong side of people or you still hold on to people in good stead. I think that probably gives you a balance in this profession.
So thanks for your time. Everyone knows that you are a fast-paced bowler, but I like the other side of you, which is your batting. There are a number of episodes where you open the inning, and also you were a pinch hitter. There are many times when you came first down and second down. So I want to know that transformation of you, right? Rather than, I know that you bowl well, but I like the batting part of you, right? Where you are more pinch hitter, you open the innings as well. Yeah. So we want to know that part of the transformation from bowler to batting, and you batted a number of times where you were not out.
At some stage in all our lives, we are at our best. Whatever you do seems to be going well. And that was one of the stage where even I took batting seriously. I could field well, I could, bowl whatever that I could do, but I started, seeing that, I want to contribute more. How do I do it? It's just not my bowling, but, the more you engage in your profession, you will see alternate venues there itself. It is just not your core job, what you do, but at the same time, you will see something more. For that, I think you need to have a macro level view. I feel that, at 96, 95 times, I wanted to do something more to the side. And it happens. It goes away. Those things are not constant. Those good feelings stay there for 2 years. Once a couple of fingers were fractured, then I was on the back foot. I didn't want to bat anymore. We had a gentleman's agreement amongst bowlers that, we don't bowl bouncers at each other. But slowly that became a strategy. That the captain said, break his finger so that we don't want to see him. Break his face because he's ugly. All those things. We used to say those on the field, and then we attacked the bowlers so that they are hurt. So fast bowlers used to come into bowl when the fast bowlers came into bat. So that's more. And then after 3 or 4 fractures, I told Sachin one day, boy, why do I have to bat? I'm a bowler. Let me stick to it. I think that's where I think I had extended too much. I think what happens. Your strength, the way you think, it will take you to a certain levels, but that's not permanent. I mean, you have to give up and come back to your core subject little later. That's exactly what happened probably in my batting stint.
That was retransfer.
With that, we'll just take last question for this evening.
Check. Well, sir, nice to see you.
Thank you.
Actually, I used to watch your game in past.
Gee.
Now I have very less cricket interest. I have seen one of your catch. It was against in Chennai match was going, and one player was playing in 194, and that you have got it the catch. That was rememberable catch. I think you must have remembered that players.
194.
He was playing 194. It may be my Saeed Anwar.
Saeed Anwar नहीं जी वो टाइम पे मैं injured था.
Yeah, no, but there was a one catch that I have seen. It's a very beautiful catch that you were bent to your shoulders. You have just talked about that shoulder injury.
Oh, that was in Toronto, yeah.
Recalled to my knowledge.
That was in Toronto. No, it was not a good catch. It was bad technique.
Not bad technique, but
Catch तो खा गया हाथ में, so we had to balance our body.
the commitment that you have shown on the field is awesome. It's very awesome.
Thank you very much. आपने तो you made me a great fielder. Jaunty Rhodes बना दिया आज तो but I must tell you that it's tough as a bowler when you bowl a lot. It is tough, and fielding is not the sharpest. thing that you could have. So sometimes you have to take the catch, and गिर जाते आप, then it looks nice on television. Anything in slow motion looks good. I would probably go for one last question before we stop, Sonia.
Hi, my name is Aditya. I've met Leander Pace, Gopi Chand in the past few years, and I had the pleasure of talking to you. My question to you is, what is your insight when you talk to the corporate world in terms of the importance of training, coaching, and mentoring? Thank you.
You see, in cricket as well as in the corporates, I might not be very popular by saying this. We expect a lot from the corporates. We expect a lot from the coaches. We expect a lot from various systems around us. I think we need to first show that interest, that you're ready to accept those things. We need to do it on our own, and then when you come to a certain stage that it requires an outside intervention, that's the time you seek help. But most of the times, zabardasti yaar. Somebody came, one training, I will just go and join them. Chalti gaadi mein chad diya maine bhi. I don't know whether it will help me or not. It's going to help me or not, I don't know, but I've just got into the bus. I don't know where the bus is going. So first of all, we need to understand that what is that I'm capable of. So my skill sets, what I need to learn in this particular sport, whether it is acceptable by everyone, I don't know. As a fast bowler, I used to train a lot with resistance training. Whether it is required for somebody else, I don't know. So you get the right kind of coach, you get the right kind of guy, who, a trainer who doesn't believe in that. Then my kind of core belief or my conviction in that particular exercise or a couple of other exercises might not gel well with him. For that, I need to establish that this particular activity is important. I need to explain to them that it is relevant to the game. In your probably parlance, it is relevant to the corporate, that your training is important. And then I'm sure you will get the openings for that. I think training is more to do with the need of the employee or probably the need of the player than zabardasti getting him to training. I think in cricket also sometimes we go for all kinds of workshops, all kind of motivational talks. One guy called Sandy Gordon, I don't know whether any of you have heard about him, a good psychologist. We came across plenty of them, most of them were quacks. यार पॉजिटिव खेलना यार वो तो है, मगर हाउ डू वी प्ले, हाउ डू वी थिंक पॉजिटिव? यार छाती आगे करके चले जाओ, यार वो नहीं हो सकता, ये थोड़ी जंग है यार ये. How do we think? So that little articulation, that we need that help, somebody needs to help us think better. They should empower us with the right thinking, keeping the objectives of the team in the front. And I think Sandy Gordon did a wonderful job. First of all, he took us out of our comfort zone. He made us brutally honest about ourselves in our thinking. We all have our blind spots in life, so usko to avoid karte we will be doing our jugaad. But you got to come out of that stuff and stand up and say that I think I was wrong. I need to change. And once you start saying that in public or amongst your peers, that's the beginning of the growth for anyone for that matter. We need to admit it, that I don't know, I want to know. That's the beginning, and how it is going to help the industry, how it's going to help the team. That's where it all starts. But if I hide my weaknesses cleverly, which we are all good at, that's where the problem starts. So training is something which is the need of the player first. Some people don't want to train at all. That's another disaster. That is not good too. Unless otherwise we add few things. The way we train, whenever I went to England, whenever I went to Australia, I saw new things because they have a sporting culture. They keep experimenting on many things. So we need to be looking and then come back and say, look, this is fine, that is okay. Even in India, we have a lot of yoga. It's probably the best thing that we could do in terms of stretching, dynamic stretching. Yoga can probably give you the best. So in corporate parlance, does it make any sense in what I'm saying? Did I answer my question or just मैंने शुरू कर दिया बोल दिया बस? Did I answer your question? Thank you very much. Anybody has one more or do you have time for that? Thank you very much. You're all thirsty. Wonderful interacting with you people. Thank you for getting me here. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
That was Javagal Srinath for us. Everyone, one more time, a huge round of applause. Come on. Thank you. Thank you once again. With that, the finale performance for this evening by Manik Paul. So sit back, relax, enjoy the evening, ladies and gentlemen. You have to put a round of